morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Cosmic weather. Let's jump into it. Okay, our solar wind this morning is blowing at 466.9 kilometers per second. Our planetary K index is dropped from the 5 down to the 2. We got a possibility of a 3 in the next 24 hours. You see a few little raggedy coronal holes here, but nothing of super large significance. Our M-class flare possibility has gone up. Yesterday it was 20%. Now it's at 40%. X-class is at 5%, and geomagnetic storm activity about 15% if you're in the mid-latitudes. If you're in the higher latitudes, you got a 25% chance you're going to have something minor, 20% chance it's going to be severe. Now we've got notice here about some sunspots. It says for the past 2 weeks, solar activity has been relatively low. Now a change is in the offing. The far side of the sun is peppered with sunspots, and some of them are beginning to turn towards the Earth. NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory photographed this pair of active regions advancing over the eastern limb early the hours of the 11. Alright, underlying each nest of glowing magnetic loops is a dark sunspot that poses a threat for solar flares. NOAA forecasters a 40% chance of an M-class flare within the next 24 hours and a 5% chance of an X-class. So that is why the possibility went up, because we got some sunspots turning our way. So something to be prepared for. Astrologically, same sun sign. Libra means air. And when we look at the moon sign, or the void, of course, in between two different signs, the unconscious mind is going from fire of Leo into the Virgo, which is the earth. So from fire into earth. So think about how those two signs operate together, especially when they're both as part of the same unit, the unconscious mind. So we've got the fire ideas, earth, practicality. You got the Virgo is the hermit. Leo is the lion of strength. These are in tarot. So we're going from strength to the hermit. If you want to look at it in that way, going from the right use of energy and creativity into the practical use and being patient for that energy to unfold itself. Okay, so air on the outside, conscious mind, looking to seek expression and finding out how to balance ourselves out, while underneath we're going back and forth between the creativity and the practicality. Okay, the current moon phase is we're 19% of the way from a new moon. And on the Mayan Oracle, we're at a 6-tone day. The 6th tone is called the rhythmic tone of equality. It's represented here in the 6th position of the wave spell. This is the wave spell of the monkey. So remember, all of these 13 days have the theme of the monkey. The monkey is about playfulness, illusion. So we're 6 days into that. The warrior, you can see by the question mark, asks questions. That's what the warrior does. And in the stories, in the book that's been read, Warrior of the Light, it's been a series of questions that the warrior asks themselves. And a series of musings and thoughts and ideas. So questioning is very much a big part of being a warrior, asking the hard questions in life. The warrior today is both the guide and the daykin. That happens whenever we have a 1, a 6, or an 11-tone day. So today, being 11-tone day or 6-tone day is the rhythmic tone. Today is called the rhythmic warrior, guided by the warrior. And the supporting cast members, you have the World Bridger is the challenge for today. The Knight is the like-minded energy. And the Serpent is the hidden power. Altogether, our phrase for today is I organize in order to question, balancing fearlessness. I seal the output of intelligence with the rhythmic tone of equality. I am guided by my own power doubled. Alright. And we're going to go down here and we're going to See where we're at in the Zulkin. Again, still in the middle pillar. We're going to have the rest of this week. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, we will still be within this pillar. So we're not going to change into the next column until Tuesday. So we're still in this void period. Void, center column, middle, where everything revolves around it. Remember, the first 6 and the last 6 reflect each other. They're all moving around the central pillar here. So if you could imagine this as a multi-dimensional object as opposed to just a flat image, and you could imagine these columns all rotating around, this one would be right in the middle. That secret chamber right in the middle. That's where we are. And on the Gregorian calendar, today is the 11th day of November 2012. Number wise, today would be 10, 11, 12. Okay. Okie doke. First thing up today, we're going to continue on with Gregg Braden. Monday and Tuesday, I played a piece of his, an interview that was both connected, 2 parts. I played a little bit of each one. Yesterday, he was talking about consciousness. Today, this is a piece called The Feeling is the Prayer. So let's listen to this. I hope you've gotten a lot of insight out of what Gregg's had to say this week, because very insightful, good information pertaining to what is going on. Here we go.
Trained as a scientist. My background's in the hard sciences, physical sciences, the earth sciences. In the 60s and 70s, when I received that training, there was no room for the possibility of the kind of things that we're talking about now, the kinds of things that suggest that our inner world and our inner thoughts, feelings, emotions, beliefs in any way affect the world around us. And it was through direct experience. What I began to understand was that this is the great secret that everyone knows except us in the West. Almost any other culture that we go to, from the monasteries in Egypt and Tibet and India into Bolivia and Peru, the indigenous traditions, little villages in the Andes Mountains, they all know that there is this experience that we can have inside of our bodies that affects our world in some way, and our science simply has not allowed for that historically. But I was trained as a scientist, and I was trained to look in the world around me for my answers, so I began to go to these places. I began to go into the monasteries, all the places that I mentioned. And it was through the direct experience of sitting in the presence of people who have lived and practiced the kinds of traditions that Louise Hay and the other authors I'm so blessed to be sharing this, the stage and this information with, that they teach about. And what we begin to understand is that this is the place where science got it wrong. There are 2 places, 2 assumptions that science has made, modern science. And they're coming full circle and correcting that now. But the first one is that the space that we believe is empty is not really so empty. It's full of a living essence, of a living material that we're only beginning to understand, number one. And number two, the fact, and it is a fact now, that we may have experiences inside of our bodies that influence the world beyond our bodies through the conduit of what's in this space. So it was in going into the monasteries and the nunneries and speaking with the indigenous people, looking at them eye to eye, heart to heart, God to God, and I could say to these people, when you just performed that miracle, when you just performed that miraculous healing, what is it that you did inside of your body to make that happen? And if I didn't understand what they told me, I'd ask them again and again and again through the translators until I understood that they were creating an experience, producing an effect inside of their bodies that my science never told me was possible or existed. And that was the path that led me. I just want to emphasize, science is good. And I believe our science is good and served us well. It simply is incomplete. And so it was that path that allowed me to flesh out the missing pieces that we're only beginning to understand today, marrying the best science of our time with the wisdom, 5,000 years of wisdom of our past, into a greater understanding. And that understanding brings us right back to the question. That's a long answer to a short question. But it brings us back to where we're only now beginning to understand that there is something that we can do in our lives that influence not only the physical body, ours and those of other people around us, but literally influence the physical reality of our world, and that changes everything. It changes everything that we in the West believe about ourselves. Something that people typically talk about in a technical organization. They don't wake up in the morning and say, what kinds of feelings, what kinds of dreams, what kinds of healings did you have over the weekend? You know, they're talking about who won the football game and who won the lotteries. But this is where it brings us, the relevance in our lives, because we all are having experiences every day. Whether we are consciously aware of it or not, those experiences are physically affecting our bodies and our world. Our hearts are the strongest magnetic field in our bodies, and our hearts are the strongest electrical field in our bodies, much more so than the brain. While the brain does create those kinds of fields, the heart is many times stronger. And what the science now is showing is that when you can change the field that the atom is in, you change the atom, and we're made of those atoms. So when we have feelings in our hearts, we're changing the field that connects the stuff everything is made of, and we literally are altering our physical reality in ways that sound miraculous in Western science. But again, this is the great secret everyone knows except us, because Western science has only arrived at this understanding. You go to these ancient and indigenous traditions and cultures, it's where they begin. They begin with the understanding, sure, everything's connected, and sure, we're part of it. And then they take us one step further and they say, here, I'll show you. I'll show you how to create the effects in your body so that you can heal your body and you can heal the bodies of others. You can change your self-esteem and your body will mirror that change. It doesn't have to be a long, slow, drawn-out process. It can happen very, very quickly. Scientifically, it appears that this field, the divine matrix, it is a mirror and a bridge between our inner and our outer worlds. And it can only give us what we give it to work with. And the interesting thing is that we have been conditioned to feel the feelings of the things that we don't want in life and that we're afraid of. We wake up in the morning and we see the 6 o'clock news and all the things to be afraid of, and then we go through our day saying, oh, I hope I'm not going to see that today, or I hope it's not around the corner. And my question, so fascinating me, where do we learn to feel the things that we don't want rather than things that we choose to have? And how would our lives be different if we could cut through all of the static and simply choose in our lives what we would like each moment of each day, or our relationships, or our abundance, or our careers, or the peace in our families to look like? What would our lives look like if we could do that? And there's very good scientific evidence showing precisely what our lives would look like, because we would very quickly experience everything that we've created. Because we can have the same thought or the same affirmation and imbue it with a different emotion and have completely different feelings and create a different outcome. And this is the great secret that was edited out of our Christian and pre-Christian, Judeo-Christian traditions. When 45 books were removed in the 4th century, 20 were taken out completely. Another 25 were condensed and rearranged. And we know this because we found the information now in the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Nag Hammadi Library, the Coptic, the Gnostic texts. So we know what those texts would have said if we had had them. I think everyone senses or suspects that there's an untapped potential in the human body. I've been on every continent of the earth, and I've asked every audience I've ever been in, do you feel that that's there? And they say, yes, we feel there's something there, but we just can't quite get it. Why is that? So we have a feeling that there's more to us, but we rely on a written validation in a 5,000-year-old text or a scientific study to tell us that it's true. And this is, I think, the value of going into those texts, is we get to see the words that literally say, in the Gospel of Thomas, the Lost Gospel of Thomas, it literally says, when these two become one, when thought and emotion become one, then you'll say to the mountain, move, and the mountain will move. And I used to think that that was a metaphor. And I now have seen enough to know that moving a cancerous tumor inside the body of a living woman, that's moving a mountain to me. And it's all done from marrying thought and emotion together. And I asked him a question. I said, when we see your prayers on the outside, and we see you in the chanting hall for 12, 16, 18 hours a day, and we see the bells and the bowls and the mudras and the mantras and the gongs and the chimes and the incense, when we see your prayers on the outside, I said, what are you doing on the inside? And this was the man that looked at me. He said, you've never seen our prayers, because a prayer cannot be seen. He said, what you see are the things we do to create the feeling in our body, and the feeling is the prayer. And then he turned the question on me, and he said, how do you do this in your culture? Through a translator. And I began to think about this and realize that when we lost the words in our most cherished spiritual traditions that tell us that feeling is a language that speaks to our bodies in this world, and we lost the words that validated that, we began to think that the words themselves were the prayers. And if we say, or the affirmations, and if we say those words the right number of times, the right time of day or the right time of year, that we've said our prayer or our affirmation, and then if it doesn't work, we get frustrated and we say, well, my prayer didn't work, or my affirmation's not working for me, because we lost the link with feeling and emotion. We have the ability to feel in our bodies the stuff that holds this universe together. And we're really not so different from those quantum particles in the stars beyond us, or in the tumor that's in front of us, in the suffering of our loved ones, or in the peace between the nations. It's all part of the same thing.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. Let's see here. I've got a bunch of stories. I think 6 of them. First story here. This takes us to, well, let's back up. First one here goes to Mexico. And this was a white disk fails to hide in the clouds. And this was from the end of last month. Over Guadalajara, let's see, the sighting reminds me a lot of a white disk over London, England last year. Its shape, glowing white effect, and how it tried to keep it hiding the clouds to blend. They're all part of the pattern. Keep your eye on, you will see something even more rare. The UFO is shooting away to the left. It shows us that it can travel at speeds of light anytime they wish, even from a completely standing still position. Okay, I'm guessing that that little thing right there is it trying to hide. There. Not doing a very good job. There we go. That was pretty fast disappearance. Okay. So the video link will be available for you to check out. See what you think. Now we go over to Mexico City, and there's an Airbus jet, and we got a UFO right over here. You can see it through the clouds. Okay, says that on October 5th in Mexico City was captured by chance passenger of a UFO. The object crossed the back of a civilian Airbus. Probably the object was hidden in the clouds, which subsequently rapidly crossed the path of the aircraft. The event was recorded at 14:52 p.m. Object origin unknown. Okay, so let's see. Alright, you can see back here there's, at one point I just saw it a moment ago. Okay, here we go. Or you might be able to see, we're looking back in the back section here. Nothing yet. Where's it at? No, I just saw it a moment ago. Alright, this one's a little tougher to see, but it's there. I saw one that was back here actually. It was actually before it went into the clouds. You see it zipping by. Alright, the link's going to be available for you to check it out. Enlarge the screen. It's there, you could see it. It's this area here. It's just not so easy to see with the video smaller like that. Now we have Melbourne, Australia. This was on the 8th. Yeah, that's what the object in question looks like. It says a great capture of an orb. Usually they are not seen so close in such detail, so this is a big surprise. Person is using what looks like a Type 2 Gen night vision scope with camera attached. Very useful, and it's not a bird. I have a similar scope, and I saw the wings on the birds and the bats, and even caught two F-16 fighters trying to intercept one another doing military maneuvers. So there we go. It's over Melbourne. Nice good shot there. Alright, moving from there over to Tulsa, Oklahoma. This was a flashing lights and triangle formation over Tulsa. Let's see what we have here. Okay, you can see the lights up there. It's not that thing right there. That's a part of the ground street light. These little lights up there. We got 1, 2, looks like 3, 4. You got a bunch of them. It's hard to see how many I'm seeing. 1, 2, 3. Okay, looks more like this object there. You could see them in this area here. If you can't, when you enlarge the video, you'll definitely see it better. Okay, so this was over Tulsa, Oklahoma on the 9th. From Tulsa, we're going to head over to New Jersey. This took place on the 6th. This was a very slow-moving triangular object. Lights on the 3 corners. Seemed very large and silent. First noticed a UFO hovering off the shore, and then it moved behind. And I was parked at South Broadway and Beach Avenue in Cape May, New Jersey. Alright, so these are just the, we've seen these plenty of times, the old triangular ship that's out there.
That's a plane. It's a military plane. It's dead quiet.
Okay. So you have it, a triangular shaped, quiet military plane or UFO overhead. Now here's one. This is a whole grouping of them. This was 100 plus is what he cites it as, this video. The person who uploaded the video here says he ever see birds fly at this incredible speed. So there we go. Alright, check this out, how many there are. This is pretty darn good footage. And the video link will be available so you can check it out, see what you see. See what you think of this. Okay, there we go. You see that go across the screen there? Alright, it's this whole grouping of things here. It kind of looks like, remember the movie The Predator, how they moved and you could see them? Kind of that type of movement taking place there. And this is good shot. Question is that real or not? Only way to tell is check it out yourself, see what you think. Let your eyes tell you what you should know. And the very last one here, this comes from Educating Humanity. It asked the question, is it possible aliens are from the future? Alleged alien encounters and UFO sightings may be of beings from Earth's future traveling in time machines, and that is the same beings that could have posed as ancient aliens in the distant past. Is it possible that sightings of alien beings or UFOs may actually be evidence of time travelers from the future? Might ancient astronauts actually be time travelers from our future? Scientists explore the theoretical possibility of time travel. Well, I'm going to tell you that the aliens, some of them are time travelers from the future. They have come back from our future into our past to help us with some of the problems that we've had. So that is why we've had a number of stories of beings, of aliens and extraterrestrials down here for some time, because they have traveled back to warn us about the things that we are doing that are going to hurt us, like the way in which we're misusing the nuclear power down here, and we keep having all of these accidents that are affecting the planet. Well, this is one of the big issues that is out there. So yes, aliens are from the future. Not all of them. Some of them are. They've come back, like I said, from our future moment into our past moment in order to be able to assist us to make a change that will affect our future in a positive way. All right? So, yes, that is accurate. That's our UFO news for today. Let me jump away for a moment. I'll be right back. Stay tuned.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People shouldn't be afraid of their governments. Government should be afraid of
9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up.
All right. Wake up, wake up, wake up. It's very important. Are you awake out there? Pretty certain you are, because if you weren't, you probably wouldn't be here. Okay, so have you heard? In Washington, D.C., this might be a shocker. So if you're standing, you might want to sit. In Washington, D.C., the people in our government administration, they lie. I know. It's hard to believe because they're such model of integrity that it's hard to imagine that they would lie or do something. And because that the lying has come from the administration, which is supposed to set the example, well, strangely enough, that lying has spread itself out. Let me show you what I mean. We know about Obama and his lies. And how do we know Obama's lying? His lips are moving, right? So he's lied, he's lied, he's lied. He spent millions of dollars to close his background so we don't know who he is. And now, here we have a video because the lies have spread onto the campaign staffers and the other people involved, so they're lying as well. Here we have a video of Obama campaign staffer caught helping an activist vote twice. Voting twice, isn't that cheating? So we have an Obama campaign staffer is helping someone to cheat? No. No, come on now. Obama doesn't set the example of cheating, does he? Well, wait a minute, he does. Never mind. Never mind. I forget sometimes. I think that presidents have integrity, and then I remember that they don't. And all right. It says videographer James O'Keefe, Project Veritas, caught an official for President Barack Obama's re-election campaign, helping who she thought was an Obama supporter set herself up to vote more than once in November. Stephanie Caballero is the regional field director for Obama's Organizing for America in Houston, Texas. Federal Election Commission documents show, according to Project Veritas, that Caballero is a salaried employee of the DNC, the Democratic National Committee. Well, she is caught on camera helping the young woman try to vote in Florida and Texas in the upcoming election. So I spent some time in Florida, and I got my voter registration card for Florida. So, and I know that we have, it's a battleground state there. The Project Veritas reporter told Caballero, keep it, keep it. So you're going to vote by ballot? Caballero responded. I'm going to vote by ballot, and then I have mine here too. The videographer showed, adding that it just really concerns me that if we don't do everything we can, we're not going to win. Caballero then advises, okay, so you have to make sure, because after 60 days you can send in your application to vote by mail ballot. So it's a sad state of affairs, but this is what happens when the guy who's at the top of the administration of, supposed to put out the good example, when that man is lying, cheating, and stealing, the people underneath him are going to lie, cheat, and steal. It doesn't help the situation when it continues to happen. So how do we get out of this situation? It's kind of tough to, right? Now let's bring up some more things here. This is a story that comes from WND. And it says here, as a student at Harvard Law School, then Bachelor, Barack Obama's practice of wearing a gold band on his wedding ring finger puzzled his colleagues. Now, newly published photograph of Obama from 1980 show that the ring Obama wore on his wedding finger as an unmarried student is the same ring Michelle Robinson put on his finger at the couple's wedding ceremony in 1992. Moreover, according to an Arabic language and Islamic expert, the ring Obama has been wearing for more than 30 years is adorned with the first part of Islamic declaration of faith, the Shahada. There is no God except Allah. The Shahada is the first of the 5 pillars of Islam, expressing the 2 fundamental beliefs that make a person a Muslim. There is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is Allah's prophet. All right. Now, this is very interesting, and if true, again, doesn't this fit into the idea of the Muslim? I mean, come on now, what more proof do we need if this is true? Don't know 100% that it is. I mean, you could look at his ring and someone could say that this ring means something and it has an engraving. It's hard to tell. Unless to really get that ring off of his finger and really investigate it, that might be a tough one. But if there's truth to this, it kind of fits into the picture, doesn't it? And then here's another ring situation of his. This one goes back to 2008, and this is supposed to be Obama's hands, and here he is wearing a ring, and as you see close up, it's a Masonic ring. Okay, so what would be the importance of knowing this? Well, at least gives us a clue then that Obama is tied in with the Masons and the ideas of how presidents have been Masons in the past, and still kind of seems to have some reality if, again, this is true and these are his hands in this picture. Again, he spends millions of dollars closing his record, so we really don't know a lot about this man's background. But as you can see, all the pieces along the way don't match up. Now, here's another one. Obama's former classmate. He told us that his father was an Indonesian king and that he was a prince and would be a ruler. This week, PBS's Frontline published a transcript from a June 27, 2012 interview with Christian Caldwell, a woman who grew up with President Barack Obama and attended the Panuhu School with him in Honolulu, Hawaii. Among other claims, she told PBS as a young child, Obama told his classmates that he was Kenyan royalty or an Indonesian prince. Fascinating claims that she discussed in great length. The former classmate who referred to Obama as Barry throughout the interview, the name she claims his classmates called him, said that she believes Obama was at the prestigious school on scholarship. Like other kids who were attending on reduced admission, he likely worked at the tennis courts on campus, a location where the two frequently hung out. During the interview, she described Obama's physical appearance and his frequent purported embellishment of his background. All right, so you can see there's more to the story here. Again, how is it that we have a gentleman in office who has so much about his past that is unknown, yet he continues to remain there? Baffling. Baffling, baffling, baffling. But I continue on. Now, we've heard about the consulate attack. This was what ABC News had to say about it. Remember, according to them, there was a big protest that took place, and then the attack happened, and all this other stuff that they said. They'd had this whole story that they told for a while. But now they're going to flip-flop, kind of like Mitt Romney. Here we go.
And now we have some breaking news to tell you about tonight. Just as we came on the air, new details from the State Department about what happened in Libya, the violence that cost 4 Americans their lives, including U.S. Ambassador Chris Stevens. And ABC's John Carl is standing by with this late news. John.
Diane, this is ahead of a major congressional hearing tomorrow into what happened in that attack on our consulate in Libya. And we are hearing new details details that we have never heard before about what went down, and this is significantly different than what we were told at the time. At the time, as you recall, we were told it was a protest that went bad and became an attack. Now we are told there was no protest going on outside that embassy. The first indication that they heard anything outside the walls of the embassy, of the consulate compound, was an explosion and gunfire. They looked through a camera to see what was going on, and we are told they saw a large number of armed men coming in and approaching that compound. We're told it was a very complex attack without precedent in U.S. diplomatic history. We've never seen an attack like this in Libya or anywhere else, we were told by this senior State Department official. So, Diane, one other fascinating detail is that they still don't know how Ambassador Stevens got to the hospital. Doctors at the hospital took the cell phone out of his pants, out of his pocket, and started calling it. That's how they found out that he was there.
John, this is an incredible breaking news tonight. So any explanation for the change in the story?
Well, this is part of their investigation. They say they continue to investigate, but they have never given us anywhere near a detailed timeline like this. And believe me, a big part of this, Diane, is because you have this major congressional hearing tomorrow, and they wanted to get this out now.
All right. These new developments just in. Thank you, John.
Yeah, the reason for the change in the story is because they lied the first time. Remember when the story first came out? If you went through alternative media, you knew right off the bat that there wasn't anything going on outside the consulate. You knew a lot more about what really happened if you just paid attention to the stories. But they lie, and they continue to lie, and that's a problem. Now, here we have a story that's also involves around lies. This is around food that we eat that affects us. GM crops destroyed by U.S. drought, but non-GM varieties flourish. Non-GM varieties are more drought resistant, yet agri-tech giants ensure farmers are unable to access them. A fully referenced and illustrated version of this article is posted on ISIS members' website and others available for download. Please circulate widely and repost. Okay. It says the United States is suffering from the worst drought in 50 years, but crop damage may well have been avoided if high-quality non-GM varieties were available to farmers. Further evidence is emerging that glyphosate-tolerant crops are ill-equipped to deal with drought, while high-quality non-GM varieties are flourishing. Monopoly of the seed industry has left farmers unable to get non-GM varieties, despite the drought having global repercussions, including steep rises of cereal prices and reduced meat production in many countries. Bottom line of this article, look, seeds are being manufactured. They're being manufactured and modified, and they're having things put in them that are supposedly going to help protect the crop, protect the seeds. But the things that are going into them are not good for the body, and it's not providing good health. And in a situation like this, here we could see that the seed doesn't even stand up to when there is a situation, a drought situation, because of whatever's in them. The hotness of the sun comes in and just dries it up and blows it away. So imagine if that seed and what it grows is going to go into your body. There's obviously nothing there. That is why we hear the stories of these kids who are continuing to gain weight these days, or the young kids who are going into puberty at such a young age, because there's all this garbage that's inside this food that has nothing to it. Nothing to it at all. It'll fatten you up because it has the crap in it, but it doesn't have nutritional value. So the kids aren't getting nutrition, they're getting this garbage, and, big problem. Now, there's a reason. I brought up all these different stories here, a variety of different problems that are going on. And this next piece here, well, this is an important piece I'm going to play. It's called A Message to the U.S. Military. And this piece is just a text piece, but I'm going to read it to make sure that you get it. So I'm going to be narrating along with it. But this is really important, and I hope members of the military get this message and hear this over and over and over, because it's very important. There's some bad things going on this planet. Bad things. And members of the United States military are going to be put into a bad position. Your sons, your daughters, your brothers and sisters, your family members who are in the military, in a period of time are going to be asked if they are willing to turn their guns on American citizens. If they will turn their guns on American citizens, if they will disarm them. They are going to be asked this if they have not been asked this already. If you know somebody in the military, you better have a real serious heart-to-heart talk with them about such matters. Because believe me, they are going to be asked what they are going to do. The men and women in uniform need to know that if they receive an unconstitutional order, they need to say no to that order. They need to have the strength to be able to do that. Because if they can't do that, if the United States military and the police force of this country has gotten to the point where they just follow orders and they follow orders blindly, then we've got a real problem as Americans. Because it seems then that the very men and women who are supposed to protect this country and supposed to protect the people really are not protectors. They're nothing more than sheep who take blind orders. We got a problem if that occurs. So, yesterday's show, I said we need to help the military find some courage. Strangely enough, yesterday when I was flipping through the channels, there was an interview with the mother and father who were of the SEAL team member that got killed. And they said exactly the same thing, that they needed someone in the military with courage to step up. So if I'm thinking that, and they're thinking that, I'm guessing that there's probably a lot of people across this planet, specifically this country, that are wondering, where is the courage in the military? What happened? What happened to you, military? You're supposed to be the greatest fighting force on this planet. Yet, you're acting like the biggest cowards right now. Because you're taking orders from a man who is not even supposed to be in office. Somebody needs to have the courage out there in the military to lead a military coup against this rogue administration. Our country is being torn apart while you, military fat brass, sit on your butts and do nothing about it. The American people want to know when you're going to step up and protect the American people and stop protecting the interest of the bureaucrats on Washington, D.C. Here's the piece. I'm going to play this. A message to the Pentagon. General Martin Dempsey and the Joint Chiefs of Staff, U.S. military commanders, and U.S. military personnel of all rank and file. All tyranny needs to gain a foothold is for people of good conscience to remain silent. Thomas Jefferson. Look, can you see? Listen, can you hear? The drumbeats of global war are growing louder by the moment. Billions living in abject poverty. Thousands of innocent lives being lost every day. All in the name of greed and global domination. For the first time in human history, we, the free people of this planet, have a chance to collapse the entire pyramid of power that has existed for thousands of years, to silence the dogs of war once and for all, to release the global collateral accounts, expose the Black Eagle Trust Fund, and open the coffers, to feed, clothe, and provide shelter to every person on earth, to reestablish common law, to uncover and fund hidden and suppressed technologies and cures for disease, to open the doors to new dawn of deep space travel, to usher humanity into a new golden age, and to arrest the tyrants who would cull the population, erase national boundaries, and enslave humanity under a super oligarchy known as the New World Order. We know who they are. We know where they live. The government of the United States of America, Incorporated. The Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, the Bilderberg Group, the banking bloodline families. The Committees of 300, Royal Order of the Garter, Royal Institute of International Affairs, Chatham House, Club of Rome, and Tavistock Institute. Holy See, Vatican City State, P2 Masonic Lodge, and the Jesuit High Council. Ancient mystery schools. The Illuminati. They must be arrested and charged with high crimes against humanity. United States military, you are the most powerful fighting force ever assembled in the history of the world. We, the free people of this nation, need your help in bringing down the fascist plutarchy that has usurped power and to awaken our right and true constitutional republic. When the time comes, you will be asked to assist in surrendering the sovereignty of this country over to United Nations. You either stand with the free people of this planet or you stand with the New World Order. There is no middle road. Now is the calm, yet there is a mighty storm coming to the shores of this nation. If we band together, we can stand firm and hold our ground. If we stand on opposing sides of the battlefield, then we will have a civil war and the blood of millions will be shed. All while they sit in safety and smile at the genocide. The choice is yours. Stand with us. It is time to take the ring to the power of Mount Doom, to set the people free from oppression and tyranny. Your actions now will echo in eternity. newtomorrow.us. Again, very important, military. If you blindly follow orders, and you're only taking orders, and they're unconstitutional orders, we the people have a big problem, because then we know that you are no longer with us. Remember, military, you are our sons and daughters, our brothers and sisters. Do not follow unconstitutional orders. Do not turn guns against American citizens. Do not disarm American citizens. Remember your oath to protect and defend the Constitution, and somebody within your military ranks have the courage of conviction to go and arrest the tyrants in Washington, D.C. who are causing these problems. Because I assure you, if you are out there and pointing a gun at someone's mother or father, just as you are doing that, there will be another troop out there pointing a gun at your mother and father. You won't like that. They won't like that. And what comes to happen if the United States military is not the troops that are used? What if there's foreign troops that are brought in, as they are being brought in and trained on American soil alongside American troops? They won't care. They won't have a problem going in doing these things. Military, you need to wake up. You're the line of defense, and you're being fooled over and over and over again. The greatest military force on the planet, and we're supposed to believe that you failed as much as you did on 9/11? I can't believe that, and I won't believe that, because I've met too many good men and women in the military. I believe that you've been lied to, that the brass of your military has betrayed you, but I believe that there is still courage in there, and there must be somebody amongst your ranks who has the courage to go and do something about this. So please do it. Don't put yourself in harm's way, and don't put Americans in harm's way. You swore to protect them, not to hurt them. All right, moving on. This piece right here, I'm going to do that one tomorrow. Okay. 71 days until we get to the end of this cycle. 71 days left. So things are closing themselves out. We could see that the world is falling apart. We could see that the lies and the corruption is continuing to escalate. And we see examples of God being removed from society. We saw an example, I read a story about the cheerleaders who had a complaint that because they were using signs that had religious sayings on them. And so then they for being banned from there, and the cheerleaders were going out and they were taking action against that. Well, now here's another situation. School orders cross removed from football helmets. A Wisconsin school district has ordered a joint public-private school football team to change its logo in the middle of the season after a lone parent said that the inclusion of a bishop's hat on the cross was a violation of the U.S. Constitution. Well, I'm going to leave the article for you to read. The point of this is another example of where God is being removed. References to spirituality are being removed, and people are complaining and having no problems doing this. Yes, standing on its own, it may look like nothing. Yeah, the football helmet's getting a different logo put on it. Yeah, the cheerleaders can't do these certain prayers. Taken individually, they don't seem like a big deal, but when collectively you add them together, all of these stories, you start to see that God is being removed from society. And when God is removed from something, there is only one possible solution or one possible outcome: failure. You cannot succeed if you remove God from the equation. You know, the other day I had an interesting analogy. I happened to be watching a NASCAR race, and at the beginning of the race, I noticed, as I do when I watch them, they always have an invocation at the beginning. There's always a chaplain or somebody who comes out and leads a prayer, and they start off asking God to bless everyone there, to bless the drivers, to bless the people at the track, to bless the families of the people at the track. Every single time, they always lead off with a prayer, and they include God. And one thing I understand about NASCAR is they are highly successful. Yet you have the United States of America, who continues to remove God from the equation. And is America successful? No. We are billions, trillions of dollars in debt. Yet we continue to remove God and continue to have more problems as we go into more war situations. And we continue to remove God. Well, as we keep removing God, there's going to be more problems. And as we keep removing God, all this we're doing is confirming what prophecy has said was going to happen at the end times. So yes, we truly are in the end times, my friends. The end of a time that is going to have to change because we can't keep pulling God out of the equation. Now, here is a story, a positive story. It has some sadness to it. This was a story of this little girl, 7 years old. She lost her family members during one of the storms that took place. But out of it, there was something kind of miraculous that happened. And she ended up writing there's a book called To Heaven After the Storm. And what she describes in it, she says, she recounts the April 27, 2011 tornado that leveled her grandparents' home in Marshall County, Alabama, claiming the lives of her parents, her paternal grandparents, and her cousin, Jaden Hallmark. It was all within the tomato. Ari describes seeing a staircase to heaven. She says she saw a tall woman with long, wavy blonde hair. At the top of the stairs, she describes seeing two huge doors. They were really tall and had diamond handles, she says. She said when the doors opened, she saw family members who had already passed away, and then she saw someone holding her little cousin Jaden. At that point, she said the angel took her back down. She remembers waking up in a field near her grandparents' home. I was just laying there crying for Mommy and Daddy, not knowing what to do, she said. So, this is a book, and it is called To Heaven After the Storm, and it's quite, sad that her family died, but this child was given a glimpse of something very special, and that's the important part, because there is something out there very special. Heaven is all around us. Heaven is within us. We create heaven with our thoughts and the good things. But down here on earth, there's a lot of hell being created too because of all the wars. War is not part of heaven. War is not part of heaven. War is part of hell. So the question is, are we already in hell? Maybe we are. Maybe some are trying to drag us there. Maybe we're in the middle ground. Maybe that's it. Just some questions to pose, some things to think about. Okay, very last thing for today. Let's do our meditation. And I still have one more little bit to go here. Warrior of the Light. So, let me get to it. This will be the last part of Warrior of the Light. When the order to move on comes, the warrior looks at all the friends he has made during the time that he has followed the path. He taught some to hear the bells of a drowned temple. He told others stories around the fire. His heart is sad, but he knows that his sword is sacred and he must obey the orders of the one for whom he offered up his struggle. Then the warrior thanks his traveling companions, takes a deep breath, and continues on, laden with memories of an unforgettable journey. It was dark by the time she finished speaking. The two of them sat watching the moon rising. Many of the things you told me contradict each other, he said. She got up. Goodbye, she said. You knew that the bells of the bottomless sea were not just a legend, but you could only hear them when you realized that the wind, the seagulls, and the sound of the palm fronds were all part of the pealing of the bells. In just the same way, the warrior of the light knows that everything around him, his victories, his defeats, his enthusiasm, and his despondency, form part of his good fight, and he will know which strategy to use when he needs it. A warrior does not try to be coherent. He has learned to live with his contradictions. Who are you? He asked. But the woman was already moving on, walking away over the waves towards the rising moon. That is the end of Warrior of the Light. Take a deep breath. Exhale. Take another deep breath. Exhale again. This time, as you would do an inhalation, imagine taking in all kind of light, inhaling light. Inhale and exhale. Now, over the last 2 weeks, we've read 130 some passages from the Warrior of the Light. All qualities of the warrior that resides within each one of us. You don't need the book to tell you about those qualities, for you live the life of the warrior each and every day. And all that is required is that you close your eyes and you're able to go inside and connect in. The warrior of the light is a faithful, trusting being upon this planet who lives by his senses, stands by his integrity, and accepts the mistakes only to find a way to improve each and every day. And as you go out into the world to find a way to improve yourself, you also make the world a better place. So imagine walking along the path. Imagine the energy of love and light and positivity emanating from your body as you walk along the path. And as it does, imagine others being affected in a positive way by the energy that you give off. And as they are affected positively, you see that the light and the positive effect goes from them to others, for there is a ripple effect. And as everybody is sending out and giving off positive energy all around the planet, the whole planet vibrates with positive energy. See and feel planet Earth vibrating with powerful, positive vibrations. And know that we are capable each and every day, each and every moment of this kind of positivity. All we have to do is just be who we are, because the nature of positivity is who we are. Imagine all of your chakras are activated from the bottom of the spine up. Red at the bottom of the spine, orange at the belly button, yellow just below the rib cage, green at the heart, blue at the throat, violet at the third eye, indigo at the crown chakra, and then white light as it continues up into the cosmos. Honor your connection to all that is, was, and ever shall be. And let's just send out love. Just imagine a green mist of love going all around the planet, hugging the planet in a loving embrace. Send this love up into the cosmos. And as this love goes out and about, let's just think a good thought for the world. Let's send out wishes and blessings that everyone finds the peace and serenity in their life they want today. That they're able to find some clarity in their life, comfort if they are in pain. And then each and every individual is able to look inside themselves and find the ways to improve who they are and what they are about. Now, as we continue to think good thoughts for the world, let's bring our energy and attention back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. And there you have it. That's the end of our show. It's the end of our prayer, end of a meditation. At the end of every meditation, I always close it off with happy, healthy, and whole. And just let you know where that came from. I'd spent some time in Chicago, and I was at the Second City workshop, and I happened to have a guest lecturer in that day who was the same teacher who worked with Dan Aykroyd and Jim Belushi. And somebody asked the woman what it was that stood out about them. And she said that lack of desperation. And that was the important thing. And I remember that statement, the lack of desperation, and how important it is to go through life without that. And when she got done speaking, and the gentleman who led the class was talking, he was instilling in each individual, because we did meditation in the class, the idea of being happy, healthy, and whole. Not getting into the place of negativity, not getting into a place of criticism of others, just getting into a place of happiness, health, and wholeness within ourselves. And in doing that, it always seemed to be a really nice way to do things. So, henceforth, happy, healthy, and whole. Anyway, that's it. That's all I got for today. I'll be back tomorrow with more news and information. Have a great day today. Be safe, have fun, and remember, we only got 71 more days left to the end of this cycle, so make the most of it. Open yourself up, see what the energies are of life around you, and go from there. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace. I'm out of here.